just thank you everybody for coming. And I just wanted to say, on a day where it's sub 20 degrees and you all decided to be with us, really do appreciate that. We've got some great information today. We've got a good Dr. Tony with us today to make a presentation. So just want to say thank you all for coming out. And Natalie, you got anything else for us before we start with our presentation?
Nope, I don't think so. Here's the quick agenda. And otherwise we can pass it over to our presenter.
All right. Thank you so much, everyone, and echoing Councilman Benson's appreciation for everybody being here in this cold weather. Thank you, Donnell, for the invitation, and Natalie for all the setup to prepare for today. I'm going to spend a little time with you all talking about a new initiative from the University of Michigan, the Detroit Sustainability Clinic. It's an initiative of the School for Environment and Sustainability. Don't know if we have any SNRE or C's alum on the call today, but I know many of you are associated with the university and the school and excited about this group. I know a lot of the names and faces here. So I'm just going to run through an overview so you all get an idea of some of the services that we provide. And I definitely want to use this opportunity to say that we want to be a partner with you and would love to participate in the task force because of the great work that you all are doing as a task force and in your individual organizations. And I'm happy to be joined by my two colleagues who you heard from a bit earlier, Virginia Sabia Wilkerson, who's our program manager, and Lauren White, who's our Deputy Director for Communications and Engagement. So I'm going to pull up some slides real quick, and if somebody can give me a thumbs up that they see the slides.
Thumbs up.
All right, great. Everybody knows the beautiful Detroit skyline. I've been in Detroit, in Michigan, for about 10 years now. I came to U of M in 2014, lived out in Washtenaw for a couple years, and downtown Detroit, in River Place for a couple years, and don't hold it against me, but now I'm out in the suburbs, but spend a fair amount of time here in the city, and working with, like I said, many of you over those years. So a little history about the clinic. The clinic was a recognition that many of the faculty and students in the School for Environment and Sustainability, formerly School for Natural Resources and Environment, have been working with community partners in the city of Detroit, but a lot of times our work was not coordinated, nor did we have an easy way for community partners and the city government to connect with us on projects that they were interested in, except for like our annual call for master's capstone projects. And so we proposed this clinic idea to Kresge to actually be hosted in Detroit to kind of bridge that gap between the community and the university around sustainability and climate action. So we got a seed grant from Kresge to launch the clinic, and we also have some additional support from Matt Lester, who runs Princeton Enterprises. Our founding principal investigator was Bill Curry, who's the associate dean at SEAS. And many of you all know Carrie Dugan. She was our founding director. And so I took over the clinic in January after coming back after 2.5 years in the Biden administration at Department of Energy. So our mission is really to seek equitable and just solutions for any of the pressing sustainability and climate related issues that the city of Detroit and its residents are concerned about. And the big way we do that is through capacity and technical assistance with both governments and non-governmental organizations, working on real world tangible impacts, supporting affordable delivery of services through partnership and research that can build capacity. And then the goal is to really strengthen our existing partnerships and facilitate new partnerships that are long lasting and that projects can continue to build off of each other. And so, like I said, we've been around since 2021, and this just kind of shows you a little bit of the impact that we've had. 11 of our projects are community-based. 6 of them have been with government agencies, whether the city or the state. We've had about 14 faculty advisors over that time, and roughly 50 students have worked on those projects as we continue over the last 4 years. And so many of these logos will be familiar to you all. This is just a snapshot of our project clients and partners. We started with an initial project with Jefferson East right after the major flood to really think through how we could support that community in planning for future events and how to bounce back from that event. Again, working with the City of Detroit, the Office of Sustainability, and the Planning and Development Department. You can see some of our community partners like Southwest Detroit Environmental Vision, Cass Community Social Services, and some of our newer partners this coming year, working with the Charles H. Wright, Sanctuary Farms, and Detroit Black Food Sovereignty Network, as well as Detroit Dirt and Zero Waste Detroit. So we have a small but mighty staff. Myself and my two colleagues who you met, and then we have students who support our work. And so Amaya and Lewis are our two students, and over the next few weeks, is that somebody not talking to me, right? Amaya and Lewis are two students of ours that joined us, and then we'll have a few more students joining for some of our initiatives over the next few weeks. And then again, several faculty members from across the school. Again, a goal was this is for, you all to be able to come to us with projects and we could facilitate connections to faculty to make that connection a lot easier. So we have folks from planning, landscape architecture, buildings, water, economists, biologists, and so a host of skills, and they can bring students with them to support your needs. So again, rooted in Detroit, I'm sitting in the U of M Detroit Center right now on Woodward. So we use this space. Jenny is here mostly throughout the week. We're looking for some interim space right now to have a dedicated space where we can work with our partners and clients. And then in the future, when the University of Michigan Center for Innovation opens, the clinic has about 1,200 square feet of space on the first floor. Again, a very forward-facing, community-facing space where people can come and work with us on sustainability and climate action. So I kind of said this, but again, we are really focused on these kind of collaborative partnerships and long-term engagement, bringing community capacity building and technical assistance, but then we also have a research and education component that we want to be beneficial to community members and to the city. And we have 5 focus areas that I think align really well with the focus areas of the task force. And so that was why when Donnell invited me, I was super excited to join you all. And so, again, my work in the last decade plus has been in the environmental and energy justice space, but we also have faculty who do water justice, a focus on housing and neighborhoods, all the sustainability and climate action work we've been engaged with, Tafira, and before her, Jack, and I've been engaged with the sustainability office for a few years, but really focusing on how to bring about climate action. Green infrastructure and water management, a lot of this is around flooding and habitat restoration. And then circular economy. As you all know, we have a lot of startups and companies in the Detroit area who are trying to think about how we reduce our waste and actually reuse materials. And I'll share these slides, but this is just kind of explaining what those focus areas are. Again, the circular economy one is one we recently added just because of a lot of partners coming to us talking about composting. I have a PhD student who many of you may know, Madeline Miller, daughter of Carla Walker Miller, who is reusing textile waste from the auto industry and working on different products with that. And so I think this is a really important space in sustainability. So lastly, I'll kind of go through, what it is we actually do. And so one of the offerings that we have are these team-based projects that can last up to 14 months. So it accomplishes a couple goals. It gives community groups and other clients and partners kind of a long-term engagement to work on a project with 4 to 5 students with a faculty advisor. And it allows the students to work on a real-world project that they can put in their portfolio when they graduate. So here are just a few of our projects over the last few years. Again, that first one was with Jefferson East, focused on recommendations for resilience after the flood. a vision for the Cass corridor with Cass Community Social Services, also looking at vacant land in the Gratiot and 7 Mile area, and then working with Sidewalk Detroit on sidewalk activation. This year, we have 3 really exciting projects, working with the Charles H. Wright on activating an underutilized space at the back of their building and really trying to tell that sustainability story and the role of museums in climate action. Working with Sanctuary Farms and the Detroit Black Community Food Sovereignty Network on composting. And then with the Energy Equity Project, looking at what is a future where we end electricity shutoffs. And so some pretty exciting projects. Now, I work with the city, Councilman Benson, this will be of interest to you. When the mayor launched his Blight to Beauty initiative, excuse me, one of our donors took note of that and asked us how we could support that. And so in the pitch to him, we talked about using our kind of long-term student team projects to work with the city on various issues as you all focus on reactivating vacant lands. And so we started this Lester Blight to Beauty Support Fund that gives students and faculty opportunities to work with city staff. And so we have 4 projects. One is completed. So the first project was with the Sustainability Office and Carrie Dugan working with students on the initial strategy about the solar neighborhoods. And so now we have a new student group that is continuing that work, but looking at the community benefits as a part of the solar neighborhood project, working on activating and access to Joe Louis Greenway. And then a new project that we're kicking off with the Sustainability Office this year is working with Tafira on vacant lot activation. So again, how do we support you all, the city, as you kind of deliver benefits to communities and think about ways to address challenges with vacant lots? We also had some short-term projects that we did. Again, just giving you a snapshot of the types of things that we can work on, working with Friends of the Rouge to look at habitat and fish ecosystem. So everything from actual community projects to community environment projects. And then the last thing I want to talk about is some of our new programming, which as we go for additional funding, would love if people on this group want to partner in different grant opportunities, because I think this is where we can really have continued impact that is outside of the structured kind of long-term projects. So we're rolling out next month a new 10 by 10 technical assistance program. So 10 hours for 10 weeks, where a community-based organization can get technical assistance with a dedicated student for up to 100 hours of subject matter expertise, especially when we identify space here in Detroit that work could be done in person, in our offices. But really, if somebody comes in with a challenge and they just need someone to help them kind of think through maybe a potential proposal or just, an idea that they've heard about that they're interested in, the students can do that research for them and help them along the way. So we're launching that in February with Zero Waste Detroit and Detroit Dirt will be our first 2 clients in that program. And then we have 2 visiting fellow programs. One is a community fellow. This is a community organizer, community sustainability leader. We'll get an opportunity to come to Ann Arbor with an honorarium and travel to meet with students and faculty and other organizations that might be a benefit. And then the second part is identifying a place somewhere in the continental US that they would like to visit to learn about a project there, and we'll support them to go visit and learn from that community. And then the catch is you come back and do a keynote address about that experience. And also it allows them to share what they're working on here in the city of Detroit. Then we're going to do a visiting faculty fellow who will be a faculty member that's not at U of M, but is doing really interesting urban sustainability and justice work to be able to come to Ann Arbor and come to Detroit and kind of share and learn and meet people and form new collaborations. So excited this year that our two fellows are Juan Shannon, who some of you may know, who founded Parker Village in Highland Park, transforming his vacant school into a cafe, doing aquaponics, urban agriculture, solar street lights. And so Juan will be our first community fellow, and then Dr. Lemire Terone, who did a lot of work up in New York, but also down south and is at Howard University right now, will join us and talk about his work. So lastly, we do a day in Detroit. We bring students to Detroit. And so if folks are interested in hosting graduate students from Ann Arbor to learn more about sustainability and justice in Detroit, we would love to work that out with you. We visited the Charles H. Wright this fall and had a really great time touring the museum and then having a panel on the role of African Americans in sustainability and the role of museums in sustainability and climate. And then we will invite you all to our showcase later this spring. Looking for a location right now, but this is where you can learn more about the clinic, have lightning talks about our projects, be able to express interest in projects for the next year. But just a really good time to kind of celebrate sustainability and climate work between the university and Detroit. So that's all I have for you. Hope that was informative. Super excited about the potential opportunities to work with you all. You can reach out to us by email. And like I said, I need to jump to the MAC EJ meeting, but I'll stay for a few minutes if there are any burning questions. But Jenny and Lauren are also here to support.
All right, thank you for that presentation. That was fantastic, very informative. Do we have any questions? And if so, if you could please raise your hand. I do not see any hands raised. Oh, there is. Mr. Harrington or Miss Harrington?
Hi, yes, just a quick question. What's the cost structure like for your clients? How do they like, what do you charge?
Good, great question. So there is no charge. So this is pro bono work because of the educational experience that the students receive. We have also talked about, particularly for our community-based partners, a structure for an honorarium, just because it does take some time to coordinate and manage the student projects. And so there is no cost to our clients.
All right, thank you.
All right. Any other questions? I'm looking for hands. I don't see any. Oh,
There was a question
Miss
in the,
Rios.
oh, I'm
Oh.
sorry. I was just going to flag Mr. Hicks had a question, I believe, about, or I'm sorry, someone else had a question about water justice and what water justice means to our office. And Tony, I wondered if you could speak to that. I know, clean, affordable, accessible water and equitable distribution of that water is very important to us. But if you have any specifics you'd like to share.
No, that was a great response to that, Lauren. I saw, sorry, Councilman Benson, I didn't see your question. Yeah, so it's really, we've had faculty that have worked with DWSD and GLEWA on water affordability, working on shut-off avoidance, as well as how do households access some of the water saving measures that are available to reduce their energy bills or water bills. And so, it's that affordable, reliable access to water.
Okay, so here's my question on the affordability piece. So we've been looking at legislative solutions to this because in our reality, the water has to be paid for, but it's just how do you do it? And so the federal government has the LIHEAP program, the Low Income Heating Energy Assistance Program. There's nothing for water, and I've been advocating for a federal solution to this. Unfortunately, we weren't able to make the state solution work. So I still believe that the real solution is at the federal level. And I've had this conversation with the WSD for years now. Where are you all on supporting a federal solution there and helping to advocate for that with DWSD and other partners around the country? Because there are a number of municipalities that support that.
Yeah, so there was that temporary LIWAP program that was moving through Congress at the federal level, and I think people were able to use some of their ARPA funds
Mhm.
for that. So I think that work is still going on, hopefully. But yeah, we support that totally. And so some of the projects that we did before the clinic started was we had a student group that looked at all the different types of water affordability programs across the state. And I think that was a project with DWSD, if I remember correctly. But yeah, we've done research on what are other states doing, what are other municipalities doing. Even looking at, do you see more affordability programs in privatized systems versus municipal systems? So really just trying to understand what are the elements that are, what's the proper characteristics for affordability, and working with Monica Lewis Patrick and some of the other folks on the People's Water Board. And so this is definitely a top issue for us.
Are you all doing anything on the legislative side? Are you working with federal lobbyists or?
That's one thing we have not done a lot of. So there's a big movement on campus to get students engaged in more social action that supports like campaigns. And so that could be definitely something that we talk about. And I know we would have a host of students that would be willing to support, kind of support that kind of effort, going to DC and, lobbying and speaking to legislators, with community members. So, yeah.
I'll get with Gary and Deborah Pospiece to see if we can have an offline conversation about this.
Yeah, that would be great.
And I know that we had Ms. Rios, and I heard that Mr. Hicks had questions as well. Is that accurate? If we could use our reaction hands to pop up, that's also very helpful versus our physical hands. Ms. Rios?
Yes, thank you. Good to meet you, Tony. It looks like some really exciting work coming out of your shop. I'm wondering, I'm doing some research, community-based research using GIS, and I'm wondering if you anywhere in your group might have a lab kind of setting where I could work perhaps with a small group of community members. Is there anything like that?
That's a great question. Can you follow up with Virginia after this, and we could definitely kind of talk about what the opportunities are. I know we have a lot of students that are really interested in GIS and geovisualization. And so I definitely think there could be an opportunity to work together on that.
Okay, that would be fun. Thank you.
Great.
I'll be in touch with Virginia. Thank you.
I'll private message you my information as well.
There's a question in the chat
Thank you.
from Bob Matler.
Sorry about that. Yes, I'm wondering whether the Sustainability Clinic is interested in looking at some of our Michigan laws. In particular, there's a law that is really underutilized that could be very helpful, not just in the city, but around the state, in creating more building infrastructure that's high efficient and also even net zero. And it hasn't gotten a lot of love from local or statewide government or institutions. And I'm just wondering whether U of M might take a look at that.
Yeah, that could be really great. These action campaigns, I think, a big part of the clinic's goal too is increasing knowledge and awareness of different programs. I was talking to a building owner earlier today about the benchmarking ordinance, and they weren't aware of it yet. And so, just this awareness campaign, we would love to participate in stuff like that. So, and we also have students that are in our environmental policy and planning track that would love to look at a bunch of, like you said, underutilized legislation or complementary legislation and put together plans to make people aware of it and find willing pilots and projects to work on.
So would Virginia again be the right person for me to reach out to after this?
Always. No, yeah, we'll definitely take track of all these opportunities, and again, we're in our fundraising mode as well, and so these type of ideas help us with, you know, writing our additional grants. And if we have partners that are interested in working on that, then we can, you know, work together on grant proposals and things. So.
And I also had a follow-up question real quick. Matt Lester, I happen to know, did he get involved as a U of M grad, or is this an area because he's you know, very involved in development that he's interested in? Just wondering what the
Yeah.
connection was for my own reading.
Yeah. As a U of M grad and donor to the university, as well as his interest in kind of climate action around reducing the impacts of buildings on energy and water.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Did Terrence Hicks get his questions answered? Did you have a question, Terrence? Nope. Donnell? Donnell, you have your hand up?
Yeah, I do. Thanks. So Tony, you mentioned that you guys are also looking for like an interim space to land for a bit to do this. You may not have all the dimensions and things you're looking for in terms of space, but I would be interested in knowing what it is you're looking for. There may even be space in where I am. So
Okay, yeah, we can definitely talk about that. Yeah, I remember your space when we came and visited. So yeah, we like I say, we'll end up in the UMCI in
yeah.
27 whenever that opens. But yeah, looking for something that is collaborative
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, having co-located with a potential partner. Yeah, we can talk about that. Okay, I'll
Great.
follow up.
Okay, thanks.
And there's another question from Raphael in the chat. Raphael?
Yeah, I was just asking in the chat if the center has any views, whether, you know, sorry about my dog in the background if you can hear her. Has any views in regards to the state creating, you know, like a commission consisting of, you know, whatever number of commissioners that is similar to like what the Michigan Public Service Commission does for energy, both for gas, coal, you know, et cetera. Renewable energy, and does this like, and if it does it come in the form of uh, uh, any kind of like academic studies or anything like that?
That's a really great question. We haven't looked at that, or I don't know a lot of folks that have looked at what state level kind of regulation of water prices has been from that type of commission, just more the environmental oversight. But I'll definitely take a note of that and see, yeah, what
Yeah,
that looks like in other places, because I just don't know.
yeah, and just kind of like echoing a little bit on what you just said. It's not so much, yes, of course, you know, like water affordability is incredibly important, but also the Michigan Public Service Commission deals with enforcing policies when it comes to resiliency and renewable energy and stuff like that on a state level. Of course, it can only be as effective as the policies that are passed in the legislature. But maybe, you know, with a different kind of body that's similar to the commission, that enforcement and interpretation of policies could be carried a little bit further when it comes to water issues.
Yeah, thanks for that.
Do we have anybody else? Anybody else? I'm not seeing any hands. All right, Natalie.
This is great. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you for that presentation. Thank you for the time. That's
Thanks for-
fantastic. You all did a great job today.
Thank you, Tony.
All right, see
Yes,
y'all
indeed.
later.
Thanks, Tony. Appreciate you.
Yeah, so well, I see Becca's on here. So Becca, if you want to help speak to this, but wanted to request that if anyone here can help us as part of a grant through Eagle for market development, we're currently conducting a study to build out a circular economy survey and trying to understand what kind of materials we have within the city of Detroit and materials that are needed. So as Dr. Reames had mentioned, circular economy, we're really trying to learn what that looks like in the landscape of Detroit. So we'd really appreciate if anyone could share this with businesses that you may know or industry. So I'll leave this up for just a moment so that anyone can take a picture of this, the QR code on the screen. And then my colleague Justine will drop a link in the chat. Great, Kerwin, I'll pass it back to you.
Okay, how's everyone today?
Yes.
Let's go through our committee updates. And the first one is Energy Waste Reduction Committee. Kendall Ben, anyone here?
Hello. Yeah, this is Kendall. I'm here. I don't
Hey.
think Ben's here. I don't have a lot of updates for the meeting today. We're hoping to relaunch the EWR committee. We were originally planning on the end of January, but we might have to move it to early February. So if anybody is interested in learning more or being involved, feel free to reach out to myself or Ben.
Okay. Thank you. Transportation Mobility, Todd.
Well, Todd Scott, Detroit Greenways Coalition. We have a lot of updates. The first is a state update. I may have mentioned at previous meetings that we were trying to get a e-bike purchase incentive bill through the state legislature. And it came down to the lame duck session. Last minute, it got out of the House into the Senate, but they just ran out of time to vote on it, and so it died in session. Unfortunately, there is $2.95 million in the current state budget that is associated with that bill passing. And so now we're trying to figure out, can we somehow get this money reappropriated in a way that would implement a e-bike purchase incentive program. I will add too that when it was in the House, it did get a substitute bill was introduced, which limited who could apply for this e-bike purchase incentives. It was only those who are income qualified, which means you're on state assistance or at or below 300% of the federal poverty level. Another update is we're continuing to work on a complete streets ordinance. And we're just going through some of the language now. LPD came up with a draft that's a rather terse and skinny ordinance. And so there's some concerns that there's not enough in it. But we're trying to work through some issues. The meat of the complete streets is actually in the Streets for People plan, and so we're just trying to tie the two together so that it's a more powerful ordinance altogether. I also want to mention some grant updates. The Joe Louis Greenway just got $10.5 million in active transportation infrastructure investment program money. That's 25% of the national pot of money for that program, which is huge, especially since it's probably not going to be funded going forward by Congress. And this is going to build the section of the Joe Louis Greenway from Woodward to DeQuinter Street. So it takes the Joe Louis Greenway into District 3. And it's going to include a major bridge over the Grand Trunk Railroad. So that's super exciting. The city also got $2 million in Reconnecting Community grant to do a study of how to connect over the railroads in Southwest Detroit. The Downtown Detroit Partnership got $2 million to continue design work on the I-75 CAP project. Unfortunately, the MDOT submitted a $17.5 million grant request to rebuild the 5 pedestrian bridges over the lodge, and that was rejected. So we're looking at alternatives on how to move that one forward. And then lastly, next meeting of our committee is next Tuesday at 4 o'clock, and we're going to have the city DPW Complete Streets Department presenting on their Safe Streets for All programs, which all kick off this year.
Great day, Todd. Thank you.
Irma is not here, Kerwin, but she did send us our updates. But they have a meeting coming up where they will be reviewing a new software that's being developed currently called Sewer Typhoon, I believe it's called, to start tracking and measuring data around some of the flooding, I think, in the city. So if anyone's interested in that specifically, drop some info in the chat and I can take down your information and maybe share more details from the message that she shared with us.
Recycling and Waste Reduction Committee.
Yeah, so hi everyone, I'm Natalie Jacob, Executive Director of Green Living Science. And the Recycling Waste Reduction Committee kind of took a little hiatus last year, but our first meeting of the year will take place on Monday, January 27th at 2 p.m. We are meeting virtually. And this month, we're going to be kicking off with reviewing a draft of a waste diversion plan that a group of 8 wonderful organizations have been helping to create under the direction of DPW, Solid Waste Division, to start to identify different waste streams and looking to divert that from landfill. We're also going to have a conversation about waste hauler accountability and trying to understand how we can still hold waste haulers accountable. Looking at their contracts, there's enforcement measures that are in there that I don't think are being upheld. So we just want to have some conversations and start to review what that looks like and how we can keep the city program working well. So we hope to see you there.
Are we seeing them fall down somewhere?
There's certainly some challenges with missed pickups and missed deliveries and things like that. And according to the contracts, they're supposed to be fined for those things, and we know that they're not being fined. So we think that would help us with this revenue issue that we have with the new contracts, and we think that it should be enforced. So we're going to start having some initial conversations to explore what that might look like.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Renewable Energy Committee. Is one of the Dianes here? I don't think so. I didn't see them. I know Michelle is not here. Is Gary here? No. And climate action, I saw Donnell. Do you have a
Hi.
report, Donnell?
Yeah, I'm here. Actually don't have a formal report. Just want to remind people that we meet the first Thursday of the month at 1 o'clock. The next meeting will be February the 6th. And we're looking forward to adding new members to our work. So be on the lookout of when the links for the next meeting will happen.
All right. Good deal. Councilman, do you have anything to say for the good of the whole?
Well, I don't. Oh, I do. I just want to say that we just recently, this past week, we passed the last phase two of these solar farms. So now Detroit has over $100 million of investment in our neighborhoods, and we'll be generating, I think it's 32 megawatts of energy, 32 or 36 within the city of Detroit. And so that could not have been done without the support of the Green Task Force. And I just had a conversation with Tricia Stein today, the group executive over with the Office of Sustainability in her portfolio, and just saying what a great job they did, how this really puts the city of Detroit on the map, and then what a great job we've done, and how over the last 11 years since I've been working staffing and chairing the Green Task Force, how we have really made a huge impact on the city, the region, and just the ecosystem of sustainability and how sustainability is approached. And so that's really a reflection on the Green Task Force and what you all have done. So I just want to give a shout out to you all. And when you're here virtually, we had 50 people show up today. I mean, this just really shows how we lean in and what kind of impact we're having as an organization, how we've been able to change the philosophy around sustainability in the city. Because in 2013, people weren't receiving sustainability this way. They weren't thinking about it. They weren't leaning in. We weren't prepared to do the critical thinking around how we can really make a change and put Detroit on the map. And so I just want to give a kudos to the Office of Sustainability. We've got Tepfira Weston over there now leading the way and just having that office, which wasn't there when I started this. So I just want to thank everybody and those who have been here for years doing this work. And now we're really being recognized and seen as an asset to the city and how we modernize and move our city forward. And that was it for me. But just think about it, $100 million of solar farms being invested in the city of Detroit. How many people thought that was possible just 2 years ago or 3 years ago? We've come a long way.
And on that note, just yesterday, I think it's no day before yesterday on Tuesday, I gave someone from Philadelphia reached out to us, wanted to see how we set up and structure our task force. They wanted to do something similar there. And that was funny. I was telling them that we might do a site visit to Philadelphia maybe soon. But anyway, it was just rewarding just that they saw us, they did a little research and they just wanted to see what we do and how do we do it. And so again, that sets up who we are and the job that we've done and the work that we've done and the impact that we've done. So it's just a confirmation and piggybacking on what Councilman says. So I just want to thank everybody, and it's a pleasure to work with all of you. So thank you. I don't have anything else. Do we have anyone that has something for the good of the whole? Yes, we do not. I don't see anybody hand. So,
Connie, raise your electronic hand.
No,
okay.
I'm trying to find it. I'm sorry.
Okay, Connie. Yes.
Real quick, I'll post it, but we have our January kickoff. The Detroit 2030 district has their January kickoff party and fundraiser at the end of the month. So it's not too far away. About 10 days or so, right? Anyway, so it's January 30th at the Rooster Tail. And we hope everybody can come. So let us know if you have any questions. I'm going to go ahead and post it. We have a great speaker. In fact, Tony Reames was our speaker last year. If he's still here, hello. And this year we have the president of Henry Ford Health telling us about their wonderful project and expansion. So I will send that over right now. Thanks.
All right. Good deal. Good deal. Do we have anybody else? Okay, well, great meeting. Oh, we will be giving, we do need recommendations for our Earth Day Celebration Awards. And so do you have if you can nominate someone, please do. We're trying to get that moving forward as quickly as possible. So if you know anyone that's been a stellar in the sustainability field, could you please, I think it's on our website. Is that correct, Natalie? So that we can,
We'll
is
make
it on the
sure it
website
is.
yet?
I'll try to drop it in the chat really quick too.
Okay, well, just drop it in the chat. But if you know anyone that's done an outstanding job dealing with sustainability in the neighborhood, a business, a corporation that's been doing outstanding things that you think should be honored, please submit them so that we can recognize them. So it's very important that we get some really good people that's doing the work. That just to say, hey, thank you for what you're doing. We appreciate you, and that it's not overlooked. So that's the goal and objective of our awards breakfast. And there
That
it
link is
is
in the
right
chat.
there. Yep, it's in the chat. So just click on to the chat and get that moving forward. I would appreciate it. Again, thank you so much. We'll see you doing our different committees and next month. And have a good one. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everybody.